Grant McCoy squinted through the blizzard. Something dark lay beside the abandoned wagon, not cargo. A body. The wind howled across the Montana plains, sharp enough to cut through leather and bone. Snow fell in thick curtains, blurring the line between earth and sky. Grant's wagon lurched forward, his daughter Hope asleep beneath a pile of wool blankets behind him. The road back to the ranch stretched 8 miles into darkness. He almost didn't stop. Out here, strangers meant trouble. A broken wagon could be bait. Bandits used women as lures. But then Hope stirred, rubbing her eyes. "Papa, is she sleeping?" Grant's chest tightened. He pulled the reins. The horses snorted, steam rising from their nostrils. He climbed down, boots crunching in the snow. The woman lay curled on her side, covered only by a torn canvas tarp. Her lips were blue, her fingers pale as winter bone. He knelt, pressed 2 fingers to her throat. A pulse faint. But there. "Ma'am," he said. No response. He lifted her into his arms. She weighed almost nothing. He wrapped her in his coat, laid her beside Hope. The girl watched with wide eyes. "Is she an angel, Papa?" "Don't know yet," Grant muttered. He snapped the reins. The wagon lurched forward into the storm. The cabin appeared like a ghost through the snow. Grant carried the woman inside, laid her by the fire. Hope hovered nearby, clutching her doll. "Get blankets," Grant said, "and boil water." He rubbed the woman's hands, trying to coax warmth back into her limbs. Her eyelids fluttered. Then her eyes snapped open wild, terrified. She gasped and shoved him away. "Don't touch me." She scrambled backward, hitting the wall. Her breath came in ragged bursts. Grant raised his hands, palms out. "You're safe," he said. "You were freezing. I brought you here." She stared at him, chest heaving. Her gaze darted around the room fireplace. Table. Child. She looked down at herself, wrapped in blankets. Then she noticed her wrists. Rope burns. Deep, angry red lines circling both wrists. Grant saw them too. His jaw tightened. Whoever she was, she'd been tied. And whoever tied her might come looking. "What's your name?" he asked gently. She didn't answer. Just pulled the blanket tighter and turned her face to the fire. Hope crept forward, holding out a tin cup. "I made tea." The woman looked at the child. Something softened in her eyes. She took the cup with shaking hands. "Thank you," she whispered. Grant stood, giving her space. Outside, the wind screamed like a living thing. He glanced at the door, then back at the stranger by his fire. He didn't know her name, didn't know where she came from, but he knew one thing: someone had hurt her, and if they came for her here, they'd have to go through him first. Hope tugged his sleeve. "Papa, Mama used to say angels sleep in the snow." Grant looked at the woman. She wasn't an angel. Angels didn't have rope burns. "Then we better wake this one up," he said quietly. The woman sipped the tea, staring into the flames. The fire crackled. The storm raged, and in that small cabin, 3 strangers waited for morning. She woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of a child humming. Morning light filtered through the cabin's single window. The storm had quieted, but snow still fell in lazy spirals. The woman sat up slowly, every muscle aching. Her head throbbed. She was still wearing her own clothes, muddy, torn, but her own. The man hadn't touched her beyond saving her life. She watched him from the corner. He stood at the stove, frying eggs. His movements were careful, deliberate. A widower's movements. The child Hope. He'd called her sat at the table, drawing pictures in the frost on the window pane. The man turned, saw her awake. He didn't smile, just nodded. "Coffee's hot. Food's ready if you want it." She didn't move. I'll leave as soon as the storm clears. He set a plate on the table. Eat or don't. Your choice. I don't need charity. Good, he said flatly. I don't got any to spare. She blinked, surprised by the bluntness. He poured coffee into 2 tin cups, set one near her, kept the other. Then he sat at the table with Hope, cutting her eggs into small pieces. The woman's stomach growled. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. Pride was a cold companion in winter. She stood, walked to the table, sat. The man didn't look at her, just kept eating. Hope hummed the same tune a lullaby, soft and sad. What's that song? The woman asked quietly. Hope looked up, eyes bright. Mama used to sing it. The word hung in the air, used to, past tense. The woman glanced at the man. He stared at his plate, jaw tight. She understood then. He was alone, too. It's pretty, she said. Hope smiled. Then she reached under the table, pulled out a quilt. It was old, faded, but clean. She held it out. Mama used to sleep here. You can have this. The woman's throat closed. She took the quilt with trembling hands. Thank you. The man stood abruptly, walked to the corner. He picked up a piece of wood, a knife, started carving. His hands moved with precision, whittling a tiny horse for his daughter. The woman ate slowly. The food was simple, but warm, real. She hadn't realized how hollow she'd become until now. Outside, the wind picked up again. Snow piled against the door. The man glanced at the window, then at her. Storm's gonna last 3 days, he said. You can hate me when it's over. She almost laughed. Almost. Instead, she wrapped the quilt around her shoulders. I don't hate you. Didn't say you did. He went back to carving. But you don't trust me either. She didn't deny it. Trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. Hope finished her breakfast, climbed down from the chair. She brought her doll to the woman, held it out. Her name's Grace. She keeps bad dreams away. The woman took the doll, held it carefully. Does it work? Sometimes. Hope said, when Papa sings. The man's hands stilled on the wood. He didn't look up, but his shoulders tensed. The woman handed the doll back. Your papa's a good man. Hope nodded seriously. The best. The woman looked at him, this stranger who'd pulled her from the snow, who asked nothing, expected nothing. She didn't know his name, didn't know his story, but she knew this: he'd lost someone too. 3 days, she said quietly. He finally looked at her. His eyes were dark, guarded, but not cruel. 3 days, he agreed. Outside, the storm roared. Inside, the fire crackled. And for the first time in months, the woman felt something she thought she'd lost forever. Warmth. The fire had burned low. Grant watched the woman sleep in the chair, her face finally peaceful. 3 days had passed. The storm was breaking. By tomorrow, she'd leave. He should have been relieved. Strangers were risk. Strangers were questions he didn't want to answer. But when he looked at her, he didn't see a stranger. He saw someone drowning, same as him. He stood, poured himself coffee. The memories came whether he wanted them or not. 2 years ago. His wife, Sarah, pale and sweating. The midwife shaking her head, blood everywhere. Sarah's hand gripping his, crushing his fingers. Promise me, she'd whispered. Promise you'll find someone kind. You're not dying, he'd said, desperate, foolish. Promise, Grant. Don't let Hope grow up alone. She'd died before dawn. He'd held their newborn daughter, screaming her tiny lungs out, and vowed never to love again. Loving meant losing. And he couldn't survive losing twice. He looked at Hope now, still asleep on her cot. 6 years old. She needed a mother. But Grant couldn't give her that. Fear had locked him in place, frozen as the Montana winter. The woman stirred, blinked awake. She looked at him, then at the window. The snow had stopped. "I should go," she said. He nodded, didn't argue, but his chest felt tight. She stood, folded the quilt, set it carefully on the chair. "Thank you for hooves outside, fast." Grant moved to the window. A rider. Expensive horse. Warren Kent. The banker. Grant's jaw clenched. "Stay inside," he told the woman. He stepped onto the porch. Kent reined in his horse, looked down at Grant with cold eyes. "Heard you brought someone home." Kent said, "News travels fast." "Bad news always does." Kent leaned forward in the saddle. "That woman is Nora Hale. She's wanted for murder." Grant's blood went cold. "Says who? Says the whole town?" "Her husband died 6 months ago. Folks say she poisoned him for the insurance money." "Folks say a lot of things. She's dangerous. Grant, send her away. Or you'll lose everything, your ranch, your reputation. The town won't trade with a man who shelters a killer." Grant looked at Kent, saw the smugness in his eyes. This wasn't about justice. This was about control. Kent wanted Nora gone because he couldn't control her. "She stays," Grant said, "till she's ready to leave." Kent's smile vanished. "You're making a mistake." "My mistake to make—" "The town won't forgive this." Grant stepped closer, voice dropping. "A man's roof, a man's rules, and my conscience don't answer to the town." Kent's face darkened. "You'll regret this. I've regretted plenty. One more won't kill me." Kent yanked the reins, turned his horse. "We'll see." He rode off, leaving deep hoofprints in the snow. Grant stood there, breathing hard. Behind him, the door creaked open. Nora stood in the doorway, face pale. "You heard," he said. She nodded. "I'll leave tonight." "No. They think I'm a murderer." "Are you—" She met his eyes. Hers were fierce, haunted. "No, but I can't prove it." Grant believed her. He didn't know why. Maybe because he recognized the look in her eyes, the look of someone who'd been judged and found guilty, without a trial. "Then you stay," he said, "till you're strong enough to fight back." "Like," her voice cracked, "why risk everything for me?" He thought of Sarah, thought of her letter, hidden in the drawer, thought of the promise he'd broken. "Because," he said quietly, "someone once asked me to be kind. And I haven't been. Not for a long time." Nora's eyes filled with tears. She turned away, wiping them quickly. Inside, Hope called out, "Papa!" Grant looked at his daughter, then at Nora. Two people who needed him. Two people he was terrified to fail. But fear was a chain, and he'd worn it long enough. "You're staying," he said. "That's final." Nora looked at him. For the first time. Something like hope flickered in her eyes. 3 more days?" she asked. He almost smiled. "As long as it takes." The door closed behind them. The storm had passed. But Grant knew another one was coming. And this time, he'd be ready. The snow melted fast. By the end of the week, the ground turned to mud and hope. Nora stood by the wagon, tying her few belongings into a bundle. The sky was clear, blue as new denim. She could leave now, should leave. But Grant appeared beside her, holding a hammer. "Roof needs fixing," he said. "If you help, I'll pay you." She stared at him. "You don't have to." "Not charity. Work. Fair trade." She looked at the hammer, then at his face. He meant it. This wasn't pity. It was respect. Deal, she said. They worked side by side for 3 days, chopping wood, hauling logs, patching holes where winter had clawed through. The labor was hard, honest. Nora's hands blistered, then calloused. She didn't complain. Neither did Grant. Hope followed them everywhere, carrying nails in her apron, singing that same lullaby. Nora found herself humming along on the 4th day. They lifted a heavy beam together. Their hands touched. Both froze. The beam wobbled. Grant caught it, muscles straining. Careful, he muttered. Sorry, she said. Too quickly. They set the beam in place, stepped back. The moment passed. But something had shifted. That evening. Hope asked Nora to braid her hair. Nora's hands trembled as she worked, weaving the child's soft curls into neat rows. Hope sang, eyes closed, trusting. Grant watched from the doorway. His chest ached. Sarah used to do this, used to braid Hope's hair and sing, but Sarah was gone, and Nora was here, alive, gentle. She likes you, he said quietly. Nora tied off the braid. I like her too. She hasn't let anyone touch her hair since... He trailed off. Nora understood. She's brave. She gets that from her mother. Nora glanced at him. And from you. He didn't answer. Just turned away, jaw tight. That night, after Hope fell asleep, Grant and Nora sat by the fire. The silence was comfortable now, not tense. She watched the flames. He carved another wooden horse. Why'd you help me? She asked suddenly. He didn't look up. Same reason you stayed. Sometimes doing the right thing is the only choice. The town thinks I'm a killer. The town thinks a lot of things. Don't make them true. She smiled, faint and sad. You don't know me. I know enough. He set down the knife, met her eyes. I know you didn't give up when you could have. I know you're kind to my daughter, and I know you're not a murderer. Help me because killers don't cry when a child sings. Nora's breath hitched. She looked away, blinking hard. Grant stood, stretched. Get some sleep. Roof's almost done. Then we'll figure out the rest. She nodded. Grant. He paused at the door. Thank you. He didn't turn around, just nodded once and left. Nora pulled the quilt tighter. Outside, the stars burned cold and bright. But inside, something warm and fragile was growing. Something that felt dangerously like hope. On the ridge above the ranch, Warren Kent lowered his spyglass. He'd seen enough. The widow and the rancher, working together, smiling, unacceptable. He turned his horse toward town. He had a plan. And by the time he was done, Grant McCoy would regret his kindness. Nora found the letter by accident. She was cleaning, putting Hope's toys away. When the drawer stuck, she tugged it open. Inside, beneath a stack of folded shirts, was a yellowed envelope. She shouldn't have looked, but her name Sarah was written on the front in careful script, and beneath it to be opened if I don't survive. Nora's hands shook. She sat on the bed, unfolded the letter. My dearest Grant, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. I'm so sorry. I wanted to stay. I wanted to watch our daughter grow. But if God has other plans, then I need you to promise me something. Don't live alone. Find someone kind. Someone who will love Hope as I would have. Someone who will make you laugh again. You're a good man, Grant, the best I've ever known. But you carry too much. Let someone help. Let someone in. I love you. I'll always love you. But my love shouldn't be a chain. It should be a door. Walk through it. Forever yours. Sarah Nora's tears fell onto the paper, smudging the ink. She heard the door open. Grant stood there, frozen. I'm sorry, she said quickly. The drawer was stuck, and It's okay. His voice was hoarse. He crossed the room, took the letter from her hands, read it. His jaw clenched. Then his shoulders shook. Nora had never seen a man cry like that. Silent, broken, holding the letter like a lifeline. She reached out, touched his shoulder. She loved you. I couldn't save her. You weren't supposed to. You were supposed to live. He looked at her, eyes red. I've been so afraid. Of what? Of losing again? Of letting someone close and watching them die? Nora's hand tightened on his shoulder. I'm afraid too. Of what? Of being seen, of being known, of trusting someone and having them turn away. They stared at each other. Two people, scarred and scared, standing on the edge of something terrifying and beautiful. She told me to find someone kind. Grant whispered. Did you? He nodded slowly. Yeah, I think I did. Nora's breath caught. Grant reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. His hand lingered. She didn't pull away. Stay, he said. Not as hired help, not as a guest, as family. Her tears fell faster now. Grant, I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But I've been dead for 2 years. And you make me want to live again. What if the town... Let them talk. I don't care anymore. She searched his face, saw the truth there. The fear and the courage tangled together. Yes, she whispered. I'll stay. He smiled. It was small, tentative, but real. Outside. The wind whispered through the pines. Inside, 2 broken people began to heal, but in town, Warren Kent was making his move. He'd sent a rider east, carrying a message, and when the rider returned, everything would change. The town fell silent when Nora stepped off the wagon. Grant had insisted they go together. Supplies were low. Hope needed a new dress. They couldn't hide forever. So they rode into town on a bright Saturday morning, the 3 of them sitting close. But the moment they arrived, the whispers started. Women pulled their children close. Men stared with hard eyes. The general store owner stood in his doorway, arms crossed. Maybe we should go, Nora said quietly. We're here. Grant said, we're staying. He helped Hope down, then Nora. They walked toward the store. The crowd parted like water, but their eyes followed. Judging, condemning. A woman spat at Nora's feet. Nora stopped. Grant's hand went to her elbow, steadying her. Hope clutched her doll. Confused. Then Warren Kent stepped out of the bank, flanked by 2 men. His smile was cold, triumphant. Grant McCoy, he called. A word. Grant turned slowly. Speak your piece. Warren? Kent gestured to Nora. This woman killed her husband. She's a murderer, and you're sheltering her. She's innocent. Says you. Kent pulled a folded paper from his coat. I have a witness. A man who saw her buy poison 2 weeks before her husband died. Nora's face went white. That's a lie. Is it? Kent looked at the crowd. Folks, do we let killers walk free in our town? No. Someone shouted. Grant's jaw clenched. He looked at Nora, at Hope, at the crowd. His heart hammered. Every instinct screamed to protect her, but the weight of their stares pressed down like stones. He swallowed hard. I need time to think. Nora's face crumpled. She stepped back, as if slapped. Grant, she whispered, you promised. I just need... You need nothing. Her voice broke. I'll be gone by morning. She turned, walked away. The crowd parted again. Silent now, Hope ran after her. Miss Nora, wait. But Nora kept walking. Head high, shoulders straight. She wouldn't let them see her break. Grant stood frozen. Kent clapped him on the shoulder. Smart choice. Now let's talk about your next loan payment. Grant shook him off, walked to his wagon. His hands trembled as he gripped the reins. He'd failed her. Failed Sarah. Failed himself. The ride home was silent. Hope cried. Grant stared at the road. When they reached the cabin, Nora was packing. Her few belongings fit in a small bundle. She didn't look at him. Nora, don't. She tied the bundle tight. You made your choice. The town will always be there, but I won't. She knelt, hugged Hope. Be brave, little one. Your papa loves you, Hope sobbed. Don't go. I have to. She stood, walked past Grant without a glance, out the door, into the fading light. Grant watched her go, watched her walk down the road. Small and alone. His chest felt hollow. Hope tugged his sleeve, held up a piece of paper. She left this. Grant unfolded it. Read Nora's careful handwriting. Thank you for showing me kindness still exists. Take care of Hope. She deserves a happy father. His vision blurred. He crumpled the note, then smoothed it out again. Read it once more. She deserves a happy father. But he wasn't happy. He was a coward. And unless he changed that, he'd lose more than Nora. He'd lose himself. Grant knelt at his wife's grave, hat in hand. The cemetery sat on a hill overlooking the valley. Wind whispered through the long grass. A lone oak tree cast shadows over the headstones. Sarah's marker was simple, beloved wife and mother. Forever in our hearts. I'm sorry, Grant said. His voice cracked. I couldn't save you. I tried. God, I tried. The wind answered. Nothing else. I met someone, he continued. Her name's Nora. She's kind. She's strong. Hope loves her. He swallowed hard. I think I love her too. Silence. But I'm scared. Scared if I love her, I'll lose her. Scared if I let her in, she'll die too. Scared I'm betraying you. He looked at the headstone, tears streaming down his face. But you told me not to live alone. You told me to find someone kind, and I did. I found her. And then I let her go because I was afraid. He stood, wiping his eyes. I'm done being afraid. I can save her. And I think you'd want me to. He placed his hand on the cold stone. I love you. I always will. But my heart's big enough for two. And if you're watching, if you can hear me, give me the strength to do this right. The wind picked up. The oak tree rustled. And for a moment, Grant felt a warmth on his shoulder, like a hand, like forgiveness. He ran, down the hill, through the town, to his wagon. His heart pounded. He had to find her, had to tell her he was sorry, had to. The cabin was empty. Nora's bundle was gone. Hope sat on the porch, crying. She left. Hope said, she's going to the town square. She said she's leaving on the next wagon. Grant didn't hesitate. He scooped Hope into his arms, climbed onto his horse. Hold on tight. They rode hard. The sun was setting, painting the sky blood red. Grant's mind raced. He'd failed once. He wouldn't fail again. The town square came into view. A crowd had gathered. At the center, Nora stood alone, facing Warren Kent and a mob of angry townspeople. Grant's blood turned to ice. He spurred his horse faster. Hope held on, silent and brave. This wasn't over. Not yet. He'd lost Sarah, but he wouldn't lose Nora. Not without a fight. Grant found Nora surrounded. The mob formed a tight circle. Warren Kent stood at the front, arms crossed, smiling like a snake. Nora's face was pale but defiant. She didn't back down. "She's a killer," Kent said to the crowd. "We should drive her out." "No trial," someone asked. "She doesn't deserve one." Grant dismounted. Set Hope down. "Stay here," he whispered. Then he pushed through the crowd. "Stop!" The crowd turned. Kent's smile widened. "Grant, come to see justice done, come to stop a lynching." Grant stepped into the circle, stood beside Nora. She looked at him, shocked. "Grant, don't, I'm done being quiet." He turned to face the town. His voice rang out, clear and strong. "You want to judge her, judge me first." The crowd murmured. Kent frowned. "I let my wife die." Grant said, "I held her hand while she bled out. I couldn't save her. And I've lived with that guilt for 2 years. I've been afraid. I've let fear control every choice I make." He looked at Nora. Then this woman showed up, and she reminded me what it means to be alive, to be kind, to be brave. Kent scoffed. "She's a murderer." "No." Grant's voice hardened. "She's a widow. Like me. Someone the world tried to break, but she didn't break. She survived. You have no proof. I don't need proof." Grant stepped closer to Kent. "I know her heart. I've seen her care for my daughter. I've watched her work till her hands bled. I've seen her cry when she thinks no one's watching. That's not a killer. That's a woman who's lost everything and still chooses kindness." The crowd was silent now. Some faces softened. Others remained hard. "If you exile her," Grant said, "you exile me too. Because I'm not living without her. Not anymore." Nora's hand found his. He squeezed it. Kent's face darkened. "You're a fool." "Maybe. But I'm a fool with a clear conscience." An old man stepped forward. Jacob, the town carpenter. He removed his hat, cleared his throat. "I was there," Jacob said, "the night Nora's husband died." The crowd gasped. Kent went rigid. "It was a robbery," Jacob continued. 3 men broke in. I heard the gunshot. I ran over, found him dead. Found her unconscious. She didn't kill him. The robbers did. Why didn't you speak up before someone demanded?" Jacob looked ashamed. "Because Warren Kent paid me to stay quiet. Said the town needed someone to blame. Said it'd be easier if we had a killer to hate." The crowd turned on Kent. His face went white. "That's a lie." "It's not," Jacob said, "and I've kept that sin long enough." Kent backed away. The crowd closed in, but Grant held up a hand. "Let him go." Everyone stared. "He'll live with what he's done." Grant said, "That's punishment enough." Kent fled, disappearing into the crowd. The townspeople dispersed, ashamed, silent. Grant turned to Nora. Her face was wet with tears. "You came back," she whispered. "I never should have left." She threw her arms around him. He held her tight, buried his face in her hair. Hope ran up, hugged them both. "I knew you'd save her. Papa." Grant laughed, a broken, joyful sound. "She saved me first." Nora pulled back, looked at him. "What now?" He took her hand. "Now we go home." The 3 of them walked to the wagon. The sun was setting, painting the sky in golds and purples. The town watched them leave, silent and humbled, and for the first time in years, Grant felt free. The first wildflowers bloomed where the wagon had stood. Spring came fast that year. The snow melted, the creeks ran clear, and the land turned green and alive. Grant and Nora worked side by side, building a new room onto the cabin. Hope helped, carrying nails and singing her mother's lullaby. They didn't rush. Every board was placed with care, every nail driven with purpose. This wasn't just construction, it was creation. They were building a home, a life, a future. One afternoon, Nora stood back, wiping sweat from her brow. "It's beautiful." Grant hammered the last nail. "It's ours." Hope tugged Nora's skirt. "Miss Nora, are you staying forever?" Nora knelt, brushed hair from the girl's face. "Forever sounds just right." Hope grinned. "Then you're my mama now." Nora's eyes filled. She looked at Grant. He nodded, smiling. "Yeah," Nora said softly. "I guess I am." That evening, Grant hung a wooden sign above the door. He'd carved it himself, the letters deep and sure. Home. Nora traced the word with her finger. Perfect. They sat on the porch as the sun set. Hope played with her doll in the yard. The sky turned pink, then purple, then dark. Stars appeared, bright and cold. Grant took Nora's hand. "I have something for you." He pulled out a small wooden box. Inside was a ring, simple, silver, worn smooth. "It was Sarah's," he said. "But before she died, she told me to give it to someone kind. Someone who'd love Hope. Someone who'd make me whole again." Nora's breath caught. "I think she meant you," Grant said. "I think she knew, somehow, that you'd come." Nora took the ring, held it to the firelight, then she slipped it on. It fit perfectly. "I'll never sleep alone again," she whispered. Grant pulled her close. "Never." Hope ran up, climbed onto Nora's lap. They sat like that for a long time, three people who'd been broken, now mended. Three people who'd been lost, now found. The wind whispered through the pines. The fire crackled, and somewhere, far away, a coyote howled. But it didn't sound lonely anymore. It sounded like a song. Grant looked at his family, this woman who'd survived winter, this child who'd never stopped believing. He thought of Sarah, hoped she was proud. "Thank you," he said to the stars. The stars didn't answer, but they shone a little brighter, and in that small cabin, under that vast Montana sky, three hearts beat as one. Home. The end.